Okay, so I'm gonna tell you about the time I ended up in a shelter, pregnant, and I had my daughter. So long story short, I was working at this one place, um, but I wound up getting pregnant with my second child. Don't ask me why I thought that was a good idea. It wasn't, because I was stable, but still not enough to have another baby. But so I wound up getting pregnant. I want to say I was like 22. And I was living on my own at the time. But when I had got pregnant, I had got really sick. And on top of me getting really sick, I had wound up losing my job. Um, but to top it out, so when I got sick and I lost my job, I wound up getting hospitalized because of my sickness. And I talked to my landlord and I was trying to explain to them what was going on. Now they was understanding until my baby daddy decided it was a good idea to sell drugs out of my home while I was in the hospital. So on top of me being late on that month's rent, they seen him busting moves at my apartment. So they just told me I had to go. So I wound up living with his family for a little bit, but I just felt like I was overstaying my welcome because it was just a lot going on. It wasn't only me there. It was me and the rest of his family. But he wasn't. He was with a whole nother female. Well, right before I found out, well, not right before I found out, right before I went into the shelter, I found out that he got this girl pregnant at the same time as me. So mind y'all, now I'm jobless, I'm pregnant, I'm getting kicked out, and I find out that he got another girl pregnant. So I'm devastated. And now I'm living with his peoples. So I decided it was just time for me to just pack up my stuff and move into a shelter. Like when I tell you, like I pretty much ain't tell nobody my moves. I just like called the shelter and was just like, do y'all got any open availabilities or whatever? Well, not availabilities, but just open spaces. Then they was like, yeah. So they let me in. Y'all, when I tell y'all, I really thought this shelter was gonna be just rats, dirty, just ugh. It was like nothing that I expected. This shelter that I went to was a family shelter just for moms and kids, and they were really clean. They were really strict, all of that. So I had a little peace of mind, but I still wasn't like okay with me being in the shelter. So I'm in the shelter. I asked if I could leave my daughter with my family, but they said no. The only way they'd be able to help me out is if I take her with me. And she lives in a shelter with me. So the good thing was I didn't have like a bad record. I didn't have an eviction notice. So basically what my landlord did was they just gave me the little notice where if I got all my things out, they wouldn't charge me anything and they'd drop everything. So I got all my stuff out of there so I wasn't facing an eviction notice. So I didn't have an eviction or anything when I was in the shelter. So they helped me get my place and everything. Oh, and that was another reason why they told me to move out. Not only was he selling drugs, but right before I got into the hospital, we got into a big argument and he kicked my door in. So yeah, the locks didn't work nothing on that door. And they was just like, yeah, this is just too much. You ain't pay your rent, property damage, and he's selling drugs. It's slow. So yeah, I literally cried every day in the shelter. Um, yeah, hold on. My bad, I got distracted. But yeah, so I literally cried every day in the shelter. Don't get me wrong, they helped me. And I was in the shelter probably for about, I say at the most 2.5 months. And but just being there and just seeing all the women that was just like in the shelter, and it just like was nothing new for them. Like it was the norm. Like, and I just was like, no, I don't want this to be the norm for me. But like I thugged it out, and then they wound up moving me into well, I found a place. They helped me find a place or whatever. They paid my rent and my gas and electric and everything, but it was just still a lot. And I told myself that I would never put myself back in that situation. But like it, like after experiencing that, it really like humbled me a lot. Like, because you never know what a person goes through. So I never like try to down anybody about their situation. Like, and I always try to like explain like what I went through. Now, like to this day, I'm not perfect and I'm not where I want to be in life, but I'm not there. I'm no longer in a shelter. I'm no longer like having to deal with, you know, those abusive things. But I just want to get my story out and just like find peace with myself. So I'm just gonna give y'all a little something here and there. But that one would like always stick with me, and because I was pregnant, like, and on top of me being pregnant, I had my daughter. And that man didn't really care about me being there, because if that was the case, he would have made sure I had somewhere to stay, like outside his family, you know. But he was too busy dealing with the other female that he got pregnant and just completely ignored me. So I think that was another reason why I was crying on a daily basis and hurt, because I'm going through all of this and I'm pregnant with your child and you laid up with another female while she's pregnant with your baby. That sucks. Um, but yeah, so that pretty much sucked being in the shelter. But yeah, that's my story about the shelter.